Hey, you're listening to Home Buying Uncensored. I'm Brian.
And I'm Mona. This is the show where we talk about home buying. We're going to keep it easy and make it fun so you can avoid disasters and get advice you can really use.
I've been in the industry for over 40 years.
And I've been in it for over 20.
We're here to give you real information that you can use, no jargon, just real talk.
And I'm going to make sure that it's uncensored.
All right, let's jump right in.
Hey, Brian, I am so excited today that you brought a friend with you.
Couple friends
For our, well, they're a team, so they're like one giant friend. For our veteran episode, I'm stoked for this because I feel like the VA loans and programs are just so underused and underappreciated. So I'm really excited to sort of spotlight this and educate everybody and let everybody know that there's nothing to be afraid of. So, Brian, tell us a little bit about you and your, not as a veterinarian, but as a veteran, right? That's what you are?
I am. I was in the Air Force for almost 5 years, back a long time ago. I think I got out in 1984, to be exact. So my Hotmail ends with 284, which is February of 84 is when I got out. So that was my discharge date. It happened to be on my dad's birthday. So I went in on the 29th of February and I got out on a leap year as well. So,
wow.
I served as a reservist for a couple of years. So, I'm excited. I'm excited to talk to a couple agents about, VA loans because, we've had some issues with them in the past as far as sellers not or selling agents, listing agents not being aware of how they work. Although I think we're getting to see a little bit more and more of it since, the war has ended and there's a lot more veterans than there were than, let's say, when I got out because Vietnam guys had already been through the ringer and then, then you had Desert Storm and all that good stuff after that, which you're starting to see a lot more veterans. But I think you should introduce our guest today, Mona.
Awesome. I am so excited to introduce the team at the Art of Sale Realty Group, Art and Shelley. So please, Art, do you want to take the reins?
Sure. Thank you. Well, first off, Mona, Brian, thank you for having myself and Chelle. This is a topic that's incredibly personal to both of us. I'm not only a realtor who earned the military relocation professional designation, but I'm also a retired lieutenant colonel in the U.S. Air Force Nurse Corps. And Chelle was also active duty for close to 7 years.
Oh, wow. I did not know that.
Yeah. Well, during our, joint military career, before Chelle had our first child, that's when she got out. And I served close to 22 years. And during our military career, we moved 17 different times.
Holy cow.
So we've purchased homes using VA financing, relocated our family repeatedly, and now I have the privilege of helping other veterans do exactly the same thing. So today, Chelle and I are wearing two hats, the realtor hat and the veteran hat. And I hope we can clear up some misconceptions because VA loans are one of the greatest benefits our veterans have earned.
I think that's amazing. I want to know one thing, though. So 17 times you moved. What was the one thing, other than your child, did you take with you to every location?
That's a great question.
Did you lose anything?
Hopefully it was the dog.
Oh, yes. We joked that every third move was like having a house fire. And with each progressive move, the trucks got bigger and bigger, right? The pack out time got a little bit longer.
So by the time I retired as a colonel, it was like an entire 52-foot trailer.
Oh, my
plus
goodness. 2. Oh, my goodness.
Our first move, we did what they call a ditty move, where we did it ourselves.
Yeah.
And, it was essentially our stuff could fit in our two cars. And by the end, we were a full semi truck.
It's so daunting, like to even think about moving just once. And then you did it like not twice or 3 times, but 17 times. Like that's insane. And you use your VA benefits for each home that you purchased?
For each one we purchased.
Yeah, I think
yes.
we purchased a total of three
Three,
homes.
4, yeah.
And then our home, once we retired, both of us had a benefit, so we were able to kind of use them, but we were able to use them multiple times. And so I think that was a huge benefit in the places that it made sense for us to buy.
There were some areas that we just were not in a position where we thought buying was the right thing to do at that time. Yeah.
Right. And buying isn't always the right thing to do. You, like you said, like you have to find the right time for it. So of all those times that you moved, how many times were you actually realtors?
None.
Okay.
The last move.
Well, the very last move that we had from Massachusetts to New Hampshire.
Okay. And so of all those times, did you run into any issues as buyers using a VA loan? Like, did you come into any issues? Misconceptions from the listing agent or anything?
Not really, because the markets were so different than what we are in now, especially up here in New England. It was just, we weren't in that heavy seller's market that we are now. There wasn't competition. Most houses, were a normal lifespan of being on the market for 30 to 45 days before they received offers. It wasn't as hot and heavy as it is here. So we didn't ever run up against anything like that. It was just an alternate funding our loan product.
Would you agree with me that when you're closer to a military base, that VA loans are more prevalent than they are, let's say, outside of Hanscom or some of the bases in Massachusetts?
Great question, Brian. I would 100% agree with that. And we typically up here in the Northeast don't see as many volume-wise, right?
Correct.
You see places like San Antonio, Texas, or some around large bases, San Diego, for example. VA loans are quite common, right? And people understand them, but the folks up here don't really understand them. And I think that's one of the things that I fear most comes from lack of education. And it's just, a product that's misunderstood.
That's why I'm happy that you both are here today, because from a real estate agent point of view, it's really important for other agents to listen to this podcast and understand that they shouldn't be afraid of these loans, that they're actually excellent loans, and they're much easier, unless it's like a crazy property that, having done some a lot in Florida, that, whether you have like a high acreage land in the VA, may not have comps because not everybody's buying at that level. I'm doing a loan right now for a retired admiral. As a matter of fact, they're buying a second home up in Jacksonville. I asked him if they were going to move there because we could use his VA benefit again. He said, no. He goes, yeah, I'm just going to put 20% down this time. So you do see it a lot in the areas that we lend in. And right, the Northeast is a crazy area. All right, let me ask you a question. What do you think is the biggest hesitation? And try and put yourself as a non-retired or a non-vet, and you're an agent, and I'm handing you a pre-approval letter for $750,000 with no money down on a VA finance loan. What is the biggest issue? Where do you see the most resistance?
From listing agents, their perspective is, well, the VA buyers have no money invested. But nothing could be further from the truth. Just because they're putting little or no money down doesn't mean that they don't have financial strength. Many veterans choose not to put money down because they've earned that benefit, not because they can't. And I think that's one of the things that's so important in educating our listing agents is it's many times our buyers might be putting money down because they know on the back end it's going to go to closing costs anyway. So that's one of the strategies that we use to help get people beyond that. But it's important to educate the listing agent and understanding what the product is all about.
Yeah. Another crazy thing that most agents don't realize that I wasn't even aware of doing VA loans all these years until about a year ago is that if an appraisal comes in a little bit low, if the veteran writes a letter to the VA, most of the time they're going to go with, as long as the veteran wants the home, they're going to go, even though the loan to value may be 105%, which is like an awesome benefit to the veteran, because if they really want that home, and they feel the value's there, as long as it's not too far up, the VA will agree to do the loan, which is crazy. And it's such a great benefit what happens on a conventional loan when the appraisal comes in loan, then everybody does the fire drill.
Let's just speak to that, Chelle. I think that's it. We were just talking about that just the other day.
Yes, so we had a client who was very concerned about offering over asking. And the lender we were working with at the time went through a very detailed explanation of how the buyer can essentially challenge the appraisal, which was very educational for us as well. And understanding that going forward, that they have leverage that a conventional loan doesn't have. And if that appraisal comes up short, there's some built-in protection for the VA loan.
Yeah, it's such a great benefit that not everybody's aware of. I'm glad you guys are aware of it. I mean, I think I need to have you on the buy side all the time for VA loans. That can explain this to an agent.
We would love to help educate. You bet.
What about the appraisal? I know a lot like that. That's one of the first things I hear besides, oh, but they're putting zero money down. So are they broke? And then the next thing is, but the appraisal. And there's so much disdain in their voice when they say it. It's very offensive.
It's a great point, Mona. And again, the VA, what we hear all the time, oh, VA appraisals are impossible. They're not impossible. They're just different, right? The VA is protecting both the veteran and the government, and they want the home to be safe, sanitary, structurally sound. But again, going back to the ability to be able to question those, it's so much easier using the VA product than it is conventional. I mean, it's almost impossible to question, conventional loans, but we do it all the time with VA loans.
You're right, because it's going to guarantee that you, and I actually just saw on, I think it was on your social media the other day about the appraisals and making sure that the property is safe and livable and all of that stuff. And like, wouldn't you want that as a buyer anyways? And I feel like there are so many people who are so desperate to purchase a home that they don't really care if there are, structural issues or something. They just want to buy the house. And then afterwards, that's when they have that oh shit moment and realize, not the greatest idea.
And we're starting to see that now, right, in the market. So we had the Hunger Games of the, late 2020, the early 2020s, right? And I could call it the Hunger Games because everyone was putting in offers. They were over asking. They didn't really care. They just needed to secure the house. And now, 4 to 5 years later, now we're starting to see some of those come back on the market. No inspection,
Yeah.
Now we're seeing some issues, right?
Yeah.
In getting it listed. And we're starting to see the back end of that.
What is your favorite VA story on somebody you helped get into a home
Sure.
using the VA benefit?
I'd love to share that. Yeah. We recently worked with a veteran who had convinced himself that sellers wouldn't accept a VA offer because he'd heard so many of the horror stories, some of the stuff that we've already talked about. He had actually worked with another agent and for a year to a year and a half and couldn't get secured a house. And he came to us and he had heard about us. We got hired by him and we educated him fully. And he really appreciated just the education that we provided him. But we educated the listing agent on any offers that he had actually only looked at 3 houses. Is it 3 or 4?
Yeah.
I think. And then on the 4th one that he said, this is the one. So we went in, we educated the listing agent. We presented the offer professionally. We communicated proactively, and the transaction actually closed beautifully. And I think one of the telltale signs was his afterward, and he said something that I'll never forget. He said, "I almost gave up on using the benefit I earned serving my country," and that's exactly why education matters. It was so important for us to be able to educate that listing agent. By the time she was done, she said, "You've educated me on VA loans. I don't have that same stigma." And we got through it very quickly and easily. And most people were like, well, it must take forever. It was a 35-day close,
Oh, wow.
and we were able to get them secured and into that home. And now they've renovated the inside of their home. We're staying in touch with them. And it's just great to see how he went from almost giving up being a homeowner to saying, wow, I'm actually there and building his family.
That is a wonderful story.
That's a client for life, and hopefully as a result, you're going to get other referrals.
And it speaks to you and Shelley. You're both very like genuine people, and I think that's really, and it comes across when I know when I talk to you, I'm like, Art and Shelley knows their shit. And that's why I love referring people to you guys, because it's like, we've had some hairy deals where you guys pulled off like not one, but two miracles for the same person. So it's like, I'm a big fan of your team, the Art of the Sale Realty Group. I love your team, and I just love how you are both so genuine and really into the educating, because we love that too. Like we make sure that we educate our clients on everything. And it's like, okay, so there's a pest inspection. Who cares? You really don't want pests in your house. So you should probably find out now rather than later, right? So I get that. And I love the happy stories, but I'd love to hear a dirty one if you have one.
Sure. Absolutely. We haven't had a ton of awful stories, but the one, actually, the awful story was related to the success story we just described to you. The horror story associated with it was, they went under they put an offer in on a house. They were very competitive, and they lost out because we did a little postmortem on the offer process, and it really was just a poorly educated buyer's agent and poorly educated listing agent that didn't make this thing roll through. And it wasn't because of the VA loan. It was because someone on the transaction didn't understand VA financing. The listing agent discouraged the seller from accepting the offer. Oh, that's VA. There was an inexperienced lender on the process. So he was inexperienced at providing VA lending. There was really bad communication, and a lot of assumptions happened instead of facts related to the meat and potatoes of a VA loan. The loan, again, wasn't the problem; the education was. So that's really the biggest horror story we've had, was just the inability for everyone involved in the scenario not being educated on what the product was. And it's really unfortunate, because if you're in the market of VA lending, you should know the product.
You should know the product. Absolutely.
And if you're a listing agent, you should know all of the products that are out there to help clients.
But you know what? And if you don't know, it's okay to ask.
Right.
And I think a lot of agents don't ask, and they just make assumptions instead, which hurts your sellers, it hurts your buyers, it just hurts everybody. So I mean, I think that's, you guys, definitely know your shit around the VA. Brian and I both, we're all over it. Cause it is a great product, and I'm just so tired of hearing oh no, that's a VA loan, like you said. So I totally get that.
I would say one of the hiccups we had last year was in and around a VA buyer and condo loans. And so that was a little more challenging. He lost out on one because we knew that the sellers just weren't willing to take the property off the market to move forward with a VA loan because they weren't FHA approved condo. So that was a challenge. It wasn't really a horror story. It was a unit that our client really wanted, but we also explained to him, like we were all present for the conversations and had multiple conversations with the listing agent. And sometimes you just can't move people's thinking, right? And you have to move on. But we were able to get him into something that he liked even better.
Things happen for a reason. Like that guy was meant to find you.
Yeah, condos are a little bit different.
They are.
With the FHA is the same way.
But having a team that really understands how all these layers together is so important before you're even making the offers, right? knowing what is going to work and what isn't going to work. And so we even got educated kind of on that process on where we needed to look and what we needed to know as we were formulating offers with that particular client.
I think you guys do a great job of explaining it, and I'm glad there's advocates out there like you both that are helping our people get into VA loans because, like you said, Art, it's a benefit earned.
It's a great point, Brian. And I think one of the things that sometimes we forget is that these men and women served our country. You know, what makes them unique? They're disciplined, they're committed, they're already overcome many times tremendous obstacles already. And as a veteran myself, I know that this isn't simply financing, it's an earned benefit. I think that's so important for us to educate everyone on that.
I think that's a great way to end this episode, don't you, Mona?
I do.
That's just like the perfect ending there, right there.
Yep. Art and Shell, thank you so much for coming. We appreciate you both. Continue on with the great work. And anytime I hear anybody who's looking to buy or sell, I am your biggest fan.
Well, thank you, Mona. Thank you, Brian, both of you for having us. We really enjoyed speaking with you.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
We'll see you soon. Keep rolling.
All right.
Brian, I'm feeling really generous today.
You are? What are we going to do?
I think we're going to give our audience a free ebook.
Sweet.
Okay, hold the excitement there. All we need for you to do is to send us an email at hello@homebuyinguncensored.com with your email address and your name, and we will send you a free copy of our ebook on home buying.
This ebook is fabulous and you're going to love it.
Talk to you soon.